Hello, my lovely little gemstones. It's Saphira, and today I'm going to be reading Chapter 1 of I Am Creativity, which is written by me. The summary of this fic is, Remus challenges Roman to a battle in the imagination for the title of Thomas's creativity. Turns out, the winner is not so easily defined. Chapter 1, The Challenge. I knew you were insane, but this is just ridiculous, Remus. Oh, come on, I thought you liked my ideas. This hardly counts as an idea, more like a suicide mission. I'm more powerful than you think, Dee. I can handle my brother. Don't try and fool me. You've been losing power for weeks. What makes you think now is a good time for this stupid plan? Deceit's right. You need to wait until you have your strength back. I could step in and make Thomas tired so you'd be able to play with his nightmares. Come on, you two. I'm creativity. This idea will work. I can guarantee it. You'll be endangering Thomas. I can't allow you to do this right now. Well, it's a good thing you can't stop me then. This doesn't have to do with Thomas knowing anything, so you're out of your element here. Ugh. Obsession, say something. This cannot happen. You're going to lose, Remus. You realize that, right? I'll do my best. It was a quiet day in the mindscape. For once, the sides felt content. There were no huge issues in Thomas's life that needed addressing, and they were able to spend some quality time together in the common area. Patton was flitting about in the kitchen, baking a fresh batch of cookies. Virgil was curled up in his chair and half asleep, warm and comfortable from lunch. Logan had a new book he was already halfway through, and Roman had a fresh script in his hands, already covered in his scrawling, curly handwriting. Of course, it wouldn't be a day in the mindscape if something didn't come to cause trouble. Specifically, this something came bouncing down the shadowy hallway that led to the dark side's territory, his steps loud and obnoxious. "Oh, Roman!" he called out in a sing-song voice, putting those in the common room immediately on edge. Virgil shot up out of his chair and was on his feet in an instant, vaulting over the side of the couch to put himself between the newcomer and Roman. Patton froze, a tray of steaming cookies in his hands. Logan sighed, bookmarking his place and closing his book with a snap, standing and facing Remus calmly. The darker side of creativity waltzed right up to the couch, completely ignoring the defensive positions Virgil and Logan had taken. He stared right past them, grinning widely at his brother. "Roman!" The prince sighed, not looking up from his script. Over the past few months, he'd grown less scared of his brother. Now he was just a minor nuisance, even though his friends seemed to think otherwise. "What do you want?" "I'm busy. I don't have time to mess around." "Oh, the great Prince Roman doesn't even have time to play a game with his only brother, and I came all this way," Remus pouted, putting his fists on his hips. Roman glanced up, eyebrows raised. "A game? What are you talking about?" Remus grinned again at Roman's question, and he spread his arms out widely. "Why, none other than a duel of our minds, just like old times. You do still remember how to play, don't you?" Roman squinted at him, putting down his script carefully on the coffee table. "Of course I do. I came up with it. But you haven't wanted to play since you left. Why are you showing your mustache mug now?" "What? I can't request a friendly game?" Virgil stepped forward, getting in Remus's face and sneering. "No, you can't. Roman isn't interested in playing any of your sick, twisted games. Now get out of here before we make you." "This doesn't concern you, Emo." Remus said it with a smile, but his voice was cold. "Besides, you should hear me out. I think you'll like this idea very much." Finally, Roman stood and walked over to his brother, crossing his arms and straightening his back to try and force any extra height he could. "Just tell me what you want," Roman said, wanting to just listen to whatever bad idea his twisted brother had come up with and get it over with. The dark side grinned, flourishing his arms and putting his chin in his hand. "We're both creativity, aren't we? But lately, Thomas doesn't seem to need both of us. One would be more than enough. So, I've got a bet for you, my brother. We play our old game by our rules, and whoever wins gets to be Thomas's one and only creativity. Sounds like a pretty good deal, doesn't it?" Virgil spluttered, holding a protective arm out in front of Roman. "No deal, you sneaky rat. Roman is already Thomas's creativity, and he's got nothing to gain and nothing to prove to you." "Virgil," Roman tried to say, "I bet this is just another one of Deceit's plans that you're tagging along with, isn't it? Well, you can count us out. We're not going to play along with anything you want." "Well, I appreciate the credit. I'm not responsible for Remus's actions this time around." A smooth voice came from the dark hallway, and the sides whipped around to see Deceit and another shadowy figure lurking behind him. The snake had his arms crossed and an uncharacteristic scowl across his face. "Let's go, Remus." Remus giggled. "He thinks this is a bad idea. But I didn't ask your opinion, did I?" Remus sneered towards his fellow Darkseid, to which he received rolled eyes. Patton winced, putting the tray of cookies down and pulling off his oven mitts slowly. "You're not behind him being here?" he asked cautiously. Deceit shook his head, and behind him the other Darkseid snickered. "Oh no, I'm perfectly alright with sending one of my friends off when it's certainly going to get them killed. I do it every week," Deceit answered sarcastic, staring straight at Remus. "You have such little faith in me. I'm hurt." Remus put a hand over his chest dramatically. Then he turned back to Roman, grinning madly. "Come on! If Deceit thinks I'll lose, then I've got no chance. One game, Roman. Then I'll be out of your hair forever." Roman stared at his brother. His eyes were wide and teeth showing. On someone else, perhaps, it would look innocent, but not with Remus. He just looked wild. His own mind was racing, trying to figure out what in the world he actually wanted. He knew he had everything to lose in this wager. Thomas already considered him his main creativity, even after learning about Remus's existence. His host had been happier than ever with his contributions, and he knew that losing this game would mean losing everything for Thomas. He could only guess what Remus would turn his channel into if given the chance. There was very little Roman could gain for this, if he could trust his brother's word, which he knew he could. The one good thing about him was that he never lied. That would mean Remus would disappear. He wouldn't show up when he wasn't wanted. He wouldn't make a fuss. He would stop messing with Roman's ideas and leave Thomas alone for good from his unpleasant idea of creativity. For some reason, that thought made him angry. He opened his mouth to tell him off, to tell him to go back to his dark cave and leave him alone. "Roman, don't you dare," Virgil growled. The prince looked at him, nose wrinkled. Virgil really thought he'd be stupid enough to take this obvious bait? Sure, he was reckless, but even he wasn't dumb enough to— "Oh, would you look at that, Roman? Your friends think you're so weak you can't even defeat little old me in a game you created. Maybe they're right, though. It has been a long time. I might actually be stronger than you." "Excuse me?" Roman screeched. "Roman," Logan warned, his tone steely. He and Virgil both tried to hold their arms out to block him, but Roman stormed past them, getting up in his twin's smirking face. "You are not, and never have been, better at creating than I am. I could beat you with both arms tied behind my back." Roman immediately regretted his words as his brother's smile grew, and he heard 3 collective groans from around the room. "Ooh, kinky. Why don't we put that to the test, then?" Remus waved his hand, and suddenly Roman found himself in the middle of a sunny field, squinting against the harsh light. Virgil and Roman landed unsteadily, and Patton stumbled and fell in a heap with a soft oof. A few steps away, Remus stood with the other Darksides behind him, who were trying to regain their balance as well. Imagination, Roman swallowed. Shit, this was not what he'd meant to happen. "So, dear brother of mine, we're here. We just need to get you ready." Remus grinned, waving his hand again and conjuring a length of rope and hanging it from his fingers lazily. Roman's eyes widened, and he took a step back, trying to keep his voice strong. "I said I could beat you with my arms behind my back. I never said I would. Can you imagine how embarrassing it would be to see you beaten with me limiting myself like that? Don't worry, I won't go easy on you, so you'll have an excuse ready when I win." Roman tried not to notice Deceit's eye twitching behind Remus. Curse him and his ability to detect lies. The dark side of creativity rolled his eyes, but let the rope drop, where it disappeared once it hit the ground. He looked vaguely disappointed, but shrugged. "You're no fun." "Fine, it doesn't matter. Your dull creations are no match for me, handicap or no. I'll give you a few minutes to set your friends up with a viewing platform. I know they'll want to watch as I beat your sorry butt into the ground," he said with a laugh and a shoulder wiggle. Roman watched him for a moment before he felt a hand on his shoulder, and he was spun around to meet face to face with a very angry Virgil. "What the hell were you thinking, Princey? Have you somehow forgotten that he's the embodiment of Thomas's bad creativity? If you lose, he'll lose you," Patton finished, grabbing Roman's hand and gripping it tightly. There were tears in his eyes and his lip quivered. Roman winced. Did they really think he couldn't do this? You two shouldn't underestimate Roman, Logan interjected, and Virgil whipped around to face the logical side. Roman got knocked out for an entire video because of him. Remus is strong, and that only happened because we all failed to warn him of the threat before it was too late. Now he has a chance to prepare. Not to mention, he created this game they'll be playing, so I see no reason to worry. Patton pursed his lips. What is this game, anyways? Roman smiled. It's just like he said. It's a battle of our minds. We used to play it all the time as kids. Before... Roman licked his lips, shaking his head. Well, anyways, it works like this. The creative side waved his hand and created a floating image, simulating a TV screen to help him explain. I created the game as an exercise to practice creating things in the mindscape. The goal is to knock out your opponent using anything you can create in the imagination. When you say knock out, what do you mean exactly? Logan asked. I mean exactly what I said. If your opponent is unable to continue, then you win. Usually it ended with a very big bruise on one of them, but he had a feeling Patton might object a lot more vehemently if he told him that. Roman waved his hand and a top-down image of the field they were standing on appeared. We split the field in two, and we have 15 minutes to get ready. We can create anything we want in our area, whether it be to protect us or attack our opponent. After we're done preparing, we start the fight. So it's not a battle of pure strength, but more a battle of wits, Logan clarified, and Roman nodded. That's right. I can't tell you how many times one of us has won even though we had fewer creations on our side. Patton twisted his fingers together nervously, biting his lip. That sounds simple enough. You said you played this before, right? Virgil asked. Roman nodded. How many times have you won? Roman huffed, planting his hands on his hips. I am Thomas's creativity. I created this game, and I'm not going to lose to my brother on the other side. I don't appreciate you doubting me, Virgil. The hero always prevails over the villain, so you have nothing to worry about. Virgil glared at Roman, anger brewing in his eyes. Instead of wasting time continuing that argument, he turned away from his fellow sides and made a grand sweeping motion with his arms. A large pavilion tent shimmered into existence, staked into the ground, and several comfortable lawn chairs underneath. He included more of the TV-like screens, so they could watch without getting too close. Roman knew they probably wouldn't be happy about being put to the side, but it would help him focus if he knew that they would be safe. Now you'll be able to relax as I earn my rightful title as Thomas's creativity. Make yourselves comfortable. I'll make this a showdown you won't soon forget. Patton looked like he was about to cry as Virgil took his hand and pulled him towards the tent, keeping his own eyes fixed tightly to the ground. Roman took a breath, setting his shoulders back and cracking his neck, and turned towards the center of the field. Roman, are you certain about this? Logan asked him gently, putting a hand on his shoulder. The prince sighed, setting his jaw. I have to do this, Logan. This is the only chance we're going to get to actually get rid of him. He makes Thomas upset, and if I can do something to help him, I'm going to do it. Getting rid of a side of himself is not going to help him in the long run. Remus exists for a reason. If he's gone, the balance we currently have will be thrown off. That could negatively affect you as well. Roman refused to look at him. Logan sounded worried about him. The hand on his shoulder tightened. I can't stop you, but I beg you to reconsider this, Roman. I don't want you to inadvertently hurt yourself with this endeavor. I'll be fine, Logan. Go sit down. I need to focus. Roman, go! His voice cracked and he ripped his shoulder away and walked off from his friends, trying to calm his racing heart. He couldn't let their worries get to him. He was Prince Roman, the hero who would defeat his evil twin and bring peace to the land once again. It was what his life had been leading up to, a fitting end to their rivalry. Why, then, did he feel so uneasy at that thought? The playing field was set. It was about the size of a football field, with a waist-high fence surrounding the entire area. There were 2 raised towers on either end, for each of the twins to survey the field. Floating in the sky above them was a scoreboard with a timer, frozen on 15 minutes. Roman made his way to the center field line, marked with a green and red striped line. His brother was standing there, arms crossed and lips twisted into a smug grin. His morning star was slung casually over his shoulder, and he tapped it impatiently as he waited. The prince held his shoulders back and chin high as he walked, showing no trace of the fear that was racing through his veins. He hadn't had a creativity battle in years, and while he was confident in his abilities in manipulating the imagination, he knew Remus had also grown in power over the years. He couldn't let his guard down for even a second, or it would be all over. So, it comes to this. I can't wait to see the look on your friends' faces when I break you into little pieces like a princely piñata. He broke into a deranged laugh, but Roman just shrugged. Laugh all you want, Captain Hook, but you should know by now that good always prevails. You're going to regret challenging me when I come out on top. Remus stepped forward and smirked, raising his free hand to pat Roman's cheek. Oh, Roman, we both know you're not a top. Roman groaned. Enough! I cannot wait until I can say something without worry that you'll twist my words like you always do. You know you'll miss me. Quit bantering and let's go! A voice called from the sidelines, and Roman looked over to see Deceit and Obsession sprawled out on a tattered blanket laid in the grass. It was a far cry from the fancy pavilion Roman had conjured for his friends. Obsession had his hands cupped around his mouth, and Deceit was snickering. Remus glanced from his fellow sides to his brother and raised an eyebrow. Ready? He asked, a mischievous glint in his eye. Roman steadied himself and looked Remus in the eyes. Let the game begin. Thank you all so much for listening. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and if you like what you hear and you want to read more, you can find the link to the fanfic in the description. Feel free to send me recommendations of fics I should read on my Tumblr, Dragon Saphira Reads, which you can also find in the description. See you next time!